Good afternoon. Welcome to the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting. It's Wednesday, June 7th, at 4:30 p.m. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We have an agenda in front of us. Any adjustments to the agenda, Dr. Hammer?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have an agenda. We'll jump straight into unfinished business with the capital projects list.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have 3 unfinished items that we will be reviewing with you first. First up is a review of our capital projects list, and as I mentioned, we will be reviewing these every meeting to give you all updated information in regards to where we're at on each of those items. Then we have a update on our James Wood High School Media Center word wall, and thank you for Mr. Gross being here to answer any questions in regards to that, as well as an update to the Gainsborough Emergency Communications Tower. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Goodwin, and we'll go from there.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening to all. Our first speaker this evening is Mr. Tim Krisman. Tim will provide us with an update for the capital projects plan. So Tim, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the board. Really have a little bit to give you tonight. You know that we've been waiting anxiously to get to our summer projects. So we're there. We're in the midst of it all. We're at the fun part. We're tearing things to pieces. So we are actively engaged in all the projects on the list right now. So we're in good shape. The Armel Elementary School modular installation, we are at the inspection stage. The water's been tested because these modulars have bathrooms, passed with flying colors. We had fire alarm inspection, it's either this morning or tomorrow morning, and then we'll go for final inspections and be done. So we're well on the way. We're looking for an occupancy permit probably this week. Before we end the week. So we're in pretty good shape. Got a few small things to do outside the modulars with fencing and grass and stuff, but nothing major. Other than that, the Jordan Springs Elementary School modular, that was really, Wayne, were you going to do this or you want me to?
I'll just fill in.
Okay. Where we're at this, I think we've given you a schedule in your package for both it and the Sharando modulars, and we have entered into the construction stage. So all the permitting, contractors are to draw their own permits, and they're working on that now. Earthwork would be first, and that'd be starting next week. Make sure I got the right one. Nope, that's Sharando. So let me do Jordan Springs first. Did it not get changed? I don't think it did. Okay, we are on track. Survey and testing will begin the end of the month. Footers will be installed the last week of the month, that is June. Underground electric and data will start in June. Modular delivery is in the last week of this month, and we'll start to install those the first week of July and set them up. Then followed by decks and ramps, electric. Electric's probably going to be kind of coincidental to everything else. We'll multitask as much as we can, and you see towards the end of the project a lot of multitasking going on. Decks and ramps go in, electrical, fire alarm, and then IT goes in, and we have some fencing to do for security purposes. And then we do final inspections, but while we're doing that, we'll be cleaning up, waxing floors, and installing furniture. So first week of August, we should have the project complete as it stands right now. The Sharando project is almost identical. We are getting the modulars on the last week of this month and installing on the first week of July. So we'll have that being going on at the same time. It's almost identical. There's a little more earthwork at Sharando than there is at almost no site work at Jordan Springs, but we have a little bit easier of electrical time at Sharando than we do at Jordan Springs. So footers will go in last week of the month. Underground electric and data can start at that same time. Modular delivery comes in last week of June, and we start to put it all together first week of July. So, and then from there on out, it's kind of identical to what we're doing at Jordan Springs. So we start to get inspections, decks and ramps go in, electrical goes in, fire alarm goes in, IT goes in, we get final inspections, occupancy permits, do the floors, put the furniture in, and we should be done first week of August. Any questions? Fast-paced schedule, everything lines up, everything goes good. We'll be on schedule and have some relief for both those schools.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
How many modulars on each of the sites, Jordan Springs and then Sharando?
We ended up with six
Six at Georgia.
at Jordan Springs and 4 at Sharando.
Okay.
There was a little question, the reason I questioned that, was a little question about fitting them in at Jordan Springs, and at one time we were at 5, but we did get the 6th one in. Millbrook High School roof replacement, we had the pre-construction meeting this morning. They'll begin July 1. They're beginning in the gym area so that we don't have anything going on in the gym during the summer, so that we won't have any problems with that. So they'll get started. It's a good company. We've checked out some of the projects they've done and everything. First time we have used Alonzo Ours, but very, very good, reputable company. So that'll begin July 1. Word wall. Are there any questions about any of the projects? It's fun time. Right now is the fun time. We finally, gates are open, we get to go. We're tearing stuff apart. We've got 2 elementary schools right now where and along with Mr. Kenny's projects, we've got a lot that's being rendered asunder right now. So we'll have it all back and ready to go first day of school. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Krisman. Our second speaker this evening is Mr. Lee, Coordinator of Planning and Development. Mr. Lee will present information about the James Wood High School Media Center's word wall. And of course, along with Mr. Lee, we have the amazing Mr. Sam Gross, Principal of James Wood High School. So welcome to you both and thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, good afternoon. I thought I would tell you a little bit about the history of this and then hand it over to Mr. Gross to tell you about how we have developed the words to include on the word wall. So this project, this word wall that you see in the illustration on the slide is actually something that's been part of the design of the school from the get-go. It was actually part of a presentation that was presented to the Buildings and Grounds Committee on September the 27th. And I do want to just be clear and say that this is not a request for additional funding. But because this item will be so visible in the school, we thought it merited bringing back to your all's attention, just to make sure that there's no additional input that you all want to have. So the word wall, as you see there, is going to actually stretch the entire width of the media center, the entire width of the core of the building. So you can see about 2/3 of the width of the word wall there. It's going to go on acoustical panels, so even if we didn't do the word wall, there would be acoustical panels there to manage the sound in the library. We went through a bit of a process with the school to choose the words, and I'll let Mr. Gross tell you about that.
Yeah, sure, Mr. Chairman, board members, thank you. This was, as Mr. Lee indicated, was a part of a presentation package that the architects actually brought to our attention as a feature that they do on several projects that they've put in several different schools. They kind of gave us an indication of a process that they would suggest. So the process that we used was we sent out a Google form to all students and staff and asked them to indicate a word that highlights what James Wood, what they think James Wood means to them, or what is the culture of James Wood. We got several responses, over 400, maybe close to 400 anyway. We, in a word wall design, I think a true word wall design is supposed to be the word that appears the most often gets the biggest, and I'm not sure if that's exactly how they intend to design it, but we did receive several feedback responses on that Google form. After that, when we received that, we just had a raw set of data. I think about 10 people were used in the process to vet the words that came through to us. As you can imagine, if you include some students, that you're going to get some less than desirable responses. So we picked over it with a pretty fine-tooth comb, and we did decide to strike some words that we thought were negative or inappropriate, and finally came up with a list of, I believe, 212 words. The words, the very first word, I'm proud to say, says respect was mentioned the most, and that's what we use in our tagline of respect, connect, and do the best. So all of those made it into the submissions. We had the process that I used after we received the words. It was given to me. I shared it with the entire admin team individually for them to look through, and then we looked it over collectively in an admin meeting to make sure that we all had consensus on what words were appropriate for permanent display. So that's the process that we used. And so if you had any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
Questions from the committee?
Just one, and I think this might be not a question for you, Mr. Gross. Around, and I heard you mention that there would be some type of sound mitigation there, regardless of whether this was, a word wall on there. For folks who might be concerned about cost, my assumption would be that there's pretty similar cost to those. One might be just a little bit more, but the fact that there's got to be sound, we see them just in this room itself, that there's those there. This would just be an added feature that would help with the culture in the community.
It would be. It's just a small marginal cost.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
No concerns. Thank you very much for bringing this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee and Mr. Gross. Mr. Lee will remain at the podium and present information now about the Gainsborough Emergency Communications Tower.
This also is an item that's been before you all in the past. It was actually approved by the school board to have a tower on the property back in October, and the lease agreement was also signed back in October. If you look at the site plan as shown there on the slide, this particular property is the property that's downhill or to the west of Frederick County Middle School. At the very top edge of the property, I don't know if I can get the cursor going or not. There we go. At the very top edge, this is Gainsborough Road, and on this side of the property is the railroad. And just past the railroad is Gainsborough Fire Department. So what the county is proposing to do is to put in an access driveway off of Gainsborough Road right here, going back to the tower lease site, which is the red line right here. This is a larger picture of the lease site, so you can see the access drive coming up to the lease site. The dashed line around the outside edge is 100 foot by 100 foot. It's the actual lease parcel. Then there's a square inside of that right here that has the X's on it. That is actually the compound. It's a 60 foot by 60 foot fenced area. This triangle right here in the middle of the square is actually the base of the tower. So the base of the tower is quite sizable. There's also some additional equipment that will be inside the compound to support the tower. And this is an elevation of the tower itself. The tower is going to be 350 feet tall, and it will be lit as well. There will be lights at the top and then lights at the midpoint of the tower. You all have any questions about that?
Mr. Lee, or Mr. Chairman. Question regarding the access road. That's coming out of the county funds, not anything from the school board, right?
That is coming out of the county funds, but you actually hit on a comment that we made to the county because we also are planning on putting a road there that leads to the schools as part of this 522 improvements project that the county's working on. So we asked if it would be possible, and this, of course, would depend on funds being available on our end as well, to share the cost of that entrance, just the entrance and not the driveway at the moment. Because what's going to happen is that entrance is a lane, lane and a half wide, and we're planning on doing a 3-lane entrance there. They're going to have to do a culvert along the ditch line on that road, and it'd be a shame to have to redo all the work that they're doing to punch our driveway through.
And then I guess who would be on the hook for maintaining this tower? Is that us?
That,
Okay. Okay, county? All right. The other guys. All right, cool. That's it.
all right. Thank you all.
Just a quick question, Mr. Chair. This is recognizing it's a lease, but will our administration have access to that fenced area, assuming that something were to occur? Would the Gainsborough or Frederick County Middle School staff be able to get in as needed, looking?
I'm gonna say no, only the fence is just the tower itself, and then it's on, equipment facility and a generator. That's the only thing that's in there.
Right, so should something occur, what would be the process of administration gaining access into the?
We would have a contact number for emergencies.
And Missy, I've met some of you before. So if something were to happen, an emergency with the tower itself, it will actually send a signal to us, so we would be able to respond immediately. I'm not sure what you would be able to do if something happened in there.
I'm just thinking, I'm putting myself in Mr. Gross's shoes for a few moments here of any of the crazy things that our students might engage in. And so they're great students, but sometimes get a little excited, especially during the summertime. So just getting them access to inside of that and kind of that fenced area was my question, and how long that would take.
I mean, it's a access key lock is what we're planning for it to be. So again, I mean, you would be able to get into the fence, the 60 by 60 facility, but that would be it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Our next speaker this evening is Mr. Kevin Kinney, Supervisor of Construction. Mr. Kinney will talk with us now about additional asbestos at James Wood High School. Thank you.
Mr. Goodwin, members of the board, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent, welcome.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just a point of order, should we announce that these are now the new items, new business items, and we wanted to make sure that we separated these out for you all, so we had unfinished and new.
Thank you, Dr. Mercer. We're moving on to new business.
Just a minor technicality, just want to make sure. Sorry, Mr. Kenny.
Makes me
Thank you,
feel
Mr.
younger. Thank you. As we go through any construction project, you come up with challenges. This is one that we knew we had, but we found some additional, I think in your packet, and you see on the screens there, that it was brought to our attention by some of our trade partners there that we had some, the insulation wrap around the ductwork that you're looking at here is down the lower hallway, down by the locker room and gym area. And at the time that this was found, this was already in the construction phase, so no students were in this area. Everything had already been blocked off through multiple other areas, so there was no students in these areas. So when we get these concerns, and we had a series of meetings that we have up there, we have our owners' meetings and we have our sub-meetings, and we called a special meeting on this one to evaluate where we were at, because when we did additional testing in there, this was above ceiling at the time. These were above the drop ceilings. So traditionally, and I think the protocols, and Mr. Chrisman can actually jump in if he said, because he deals with more asbestos abatement in some of his areas. But if it's not going to be disturbed, it's usually just left. You know, it's above ceilings, no one's going to be there. This duct work is supposed to be left in place, but we we do have to get in there to put hangers in for additional piping, so there's concerns. So we had our testing group, which is ECS Mid-Atlantic, as you see in the letter, come in and do some testings, and what we found was the seam seal, the mastic on the seams, did test positive for a non-friable, one of your lower end type of asbestos. It is, if it gets disturbed, it's not friable, it's not going into the air, but it is a concern. So we kept testing it, and so we have decided to move forward with the removal of this insulation wrap. It'll be put back with current wrap that meets code and is not asbestos. So in doing that also, we continue on through other areas of the building, as you always do as you go into new areas. We're in the asbestos abatement phase right now, taking floor tilite that we knew about. There's no rhyme or reason to how the original contractor did this work, because we're finding oddities with this. But as we do take them into account, we are using all the methods of testing and inspections and abatement and following all protocols before we turn workers back in, make sure all the air has been sampled and everything is clear to go before they all go. And so this is just one to bring before you to show that what we are encountering. We have similar situations where the mastic is not testing positive. So it is something, a little background. Indian Hollow, we did this testing last May. All the ductwork there. The school was about 8 years newer up there. It's just fine. It's just that we're finding certain areas in this building that we had these, so we've abated it. It's been removed. We will put new insulation back in with the proper sealants on it, and any areas we do. So this is just a general information that everything was taken into account, protocols were followed, and there was no friable material, and there's nothing that was in danger to our workers nor our student population at the time. Is there any questions that you may have?
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
I
Mr. Lake?
invite anyone that wants to come up and take a look at the school, come on up. It's a total wreck right now, but it's it's an interesting phase, so if you'd like to. But if there's nothing else, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Mr. Lee will now discuss the Rappahannock Electric Cooperative easement for transmission line in front of the Millbrook High School Redbud Run Elementary School. This is an action item. Mr. Goldheisen, I believe, from Rappahannock Electric Co-op's consultant is here. We may have some other additional folks here as well from Rappahannock Electric Co-op, but I wanted to make sure they felt welcome. So welcome to you, and thank you, Mr. Lee.
We have a picture of a proposed route for a transmission line across the front of the Millbrook and Redbud Run properties in front of you here today. This is a route that runs from the current transmission line through some wooded land that we own to a corner of a stormwater facility at the back of Redbud Run Elementary and on across Route 7 to the new substation there. The transmission line is a 138 kilovolt line, so it's not the highest tension line out there, but it is a transmission line and not a distribution line. And as you can see, it does touch a part of the grassed area behind Redbud Run. So we've talked to both of the principals at those schools, and neither principal had any issues with the location of that line. So even though that line is back at the back corner of Redbud Run, Mr. Strong did not see any issues with that. He actually said that no children are allowed back in that area. The representative from, actually 4 representatives from Rappahannock are here today to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Questions from the committee?
Yep, Mr. Chairman. So my question is, are the transmission poles already in place? Poles already there? Or are we putting the poles in, running the line, T&D crew coming out?
I'll actually, since you're wanting to, yeah, I'll let them answer.
You don't mind coming up to the mic, please? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Matt Anderson, Director of Substation Transmission Engineering and Technical Services.
Gary Hare, Project Management Supervisor.
Gentlemen, I appreciate y'all being here. My question is or the poles are not already in place or anything like that? You guys run a new transmission
They
line?
are not, yeah. Currently, right there in this right-of-way, and it comes down a little bit, there is existing distribution that is lower voltage in most of this, but this does go, it extends it out, and that transmission tower up there would be, it's not there right now. But
So you guys would have to go through, cut some trees down and everything to get through there. Project timeline?
Well, it depends on, we have to do some studies for bats. There's a bat study we have to do.
No, the bat migration, I have to deal with that at my job
So-
too. We had to cut down all the trees before the bats came back.
So, but right now, the right-of-way, the in-service date is, they're talking about,
May 3rd.
August of 2024.
Okay.
The start of construction, I'm not sure on the transmission, on the cutting of the right-of-way, when did they want to start?
May 24th.
May of,
Well, I was going to say, today's meeting was March of 2024. Construction would begin April and May of 2024,
depending on
depending on
the bats.
the bats.
Right.
And also depending, as of right now, we're still in the process of engineering this. As you can see where the transmission line goes to behind Timbrook Honda, we're currently building a substation there, and we are unable to connect it, and we didn't start designing anything pending approval of the right-of-way.
Understood. My concern, we gotta have power, but my concern would be during that time we have graduations when we're cutting through. We've got equipment. Do you guys have a plan set in place where we can move some equipment around for at least that time?
That would be no issues. We
That
would be
would
more
be-
than happy to work with you on
Yes.
those
Okay.
timeframes and any events that you had going on at the school.
Okay, and then what about, talking about hours, buses coming in, out, since it's, our bus route going in and out. I know you guys like to start early, and get out of there. I just want to make sure we're not causing any kind of safety issues right there on your guys' end or on ours.
Well, I believe they're cutting in a road for the construction. They're not going to be using school property for the construction entrance. Is that correct?
Correct. But we would have to come off this road. Should I just show them the map? Yes. Sorry, I didn't get this done, but
It's all good.
we had to handwrite this one. Right here in this turn. They would like to go down to access this structure in the corner. Then they was planning on going up here, but there's a stream right here. So this would be across from the school here. They would like to go down there if that's acceptable, to access that structure. Then this structure's up here in the old right-of-way here, where they tap in, they'd be coming off this other property and go down to that. You can keep that for your records if you like.
Yeah, sir. Appreciate it. So, kind of looking at that map, coming off of Berryville Pike, Route 7 right there, you would have to either come in on Millbrook Drive or First Woods, either way, at some point during the day to come to those access roads.
So the line that you can see there on the left side of, my left side of the screen, that's an existing 138 line that we're putting the tap off of to come in. So First Energy owns the transmission line, and they're tapping for us to serve that in. We don't own and operate 138 kV.
You're talking about up there at 14A tap?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So, and then they'll actually own the wires and the structures going over to our site as well. Oops, I'm sorry, excuse me. So, but part of the deal was they wanted us to obtain the easements for that. But we are working directly with them. We can work with schedules, whatever would need be for the schools.
That would be my only concern, would be just coordinating with, our staff on that, any football games or anything coming into the school, I would ask that, respect the property, keep equipment off the road and everything right there, so we have people coming in and out, visitors and whatnot. But hey, we gotta have power, right?
Yeah, if you could just provide a contact that we can go through and we could let them know and work with them on your side, so we know when the events are and everything like that ahead of time, so.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, thank you for that, and that was going to be my recommendation after those concerns you just mentioned, because that was something I was considering as well, as making sure that this is the least disruptive as possible. I think this was more of a back-end question for our principals in regards to where this is located and how much impact this will have on students and learning, and of course, they said there wasn't, but in regards to the building of this, we want to make sure that there's a least amount of disruption, and if that can get communicated to those folks working on the site, that the school and the operations takes precedence, on those pieces. So we can definitely loop in our two principals from each of those sites, and if we can get a schedule through Mr. Lee as well, and any adjustments or changes, please continue to work with us on that. And again, this is still pending board approval. This is just the first step. It goes to the board on June 20th, and they have to vote on this. We just want to make sure that we continue that communication, please. That would be great. I did have another question, Mr. Chair, if I may. If you do approve this, is there any noise to these types of power lines? I know that was a question I had for Mr. Lee. I don't know if he had a chance to follow up with you. Is there any sort of disruption in regards to that? I've been under power lines, and you hear that click, 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 click.
Yeah, on a normal day-to-day, generally not, and the load at this station would be low enough that you wouldn't hear anything. On a moist day, when you have fog or rain, I mean, you might hear a slight buzzing at that point, but it's not anything that would be overly disrupting.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just a few quick questions. Number one, appreciate you coming here and appreciate the work that you all do. Sometimes thankless work, try to figure out a solution here. My question is around, if I recall correctly, a couple meetings ago, we were discussing some potential VDOT traffic changes related to this entrance and the other entrance, and so wanted to get some insight as to where that is and if this would potentially have any impact on those changes.
I don't think this will have any impact on those. Those changes are happening specifically at the intersections. Timing-wise, I'm not sure. I think this will happen, and I'll have to double-check to make sure, but I think this will happen before the road improvements will.
Mr. Monk, if I may, can we please get that information prior to the June 20th meeting? And then, so we can report back on that, so they can make an informed decision on a vote? Because that's a really good question, Mr. Monk.
Certainly.
Yeah, just thinking if we would have to do any type of road expansion or adding a lane, depending upon, especially if they cut off that one up near the bank, then I'm thinking there's going to be some increased traffic here, and just want to make sure we've got, and it looks like there's enough from number 3 there out to be able to do something, but I don't know how far you need to be off, what the right-of-way looks like, all of that type of thing. And then the second question I have is around, we're having a lot of conversations around capacity issue specifically at our high school level. Millbrook is one of the options that some folks have put forward as increasing the capacity. And I haven't had a chance to look at the topo map, but if that were the case and that school were to be expanded, or if that's the decision that this board makes, would this take away from any land that would be needed for things like a parking lot, or, I'm thinking about the parking lot in the back may need to be transitioned. I don't know what those plans are, but just want to make sure that we're not limiting ourselves for potential future options.
So I don't think that will hurt us either. There's actually a stream that goes through here. If you look closely at the image, and it's impossible to see on the slide, but there's a little dark line that is the stream running through here, and it slopes down pretty steeply from the road down to the stream. In order for us to move our program this direction at all, we would have to do a significant amount of earthwork or a retaining wall, quite a bit of expense related to that. The grassed area that you see right here can handle most of the addition. We'd also have to take a row of parking right here. This road is at least 3 lanes wide. We could narrow it up some to make room for the parking that we would lose right here. We would just simply shift the parking lot over. So there are some solutions for us before we actually get into shifting this road and having to do this earthwork. But even if we have to do that, the earthwork or the retaining wall, there's room for us to work there with the transmission line in place.
I just wanted to make sure that we weren't reducing any and all options, so.
Yeah, question.
So, gentlemen from REC, the access roads that are on the more detailed map that you provided, there's several access roads listed here. Are those just for the purpose of construction, or are those ongoing permanent easements that?
Temporary only.
Temporary only?
Temporary only, and any mitigation would be done to return that back to its current state.
And so then in the future, after this is built, if something were needed to be worked on, what would
If something
happen?
was needed to be worked on by First Energy, typically what we do and most other utilities is we'll pad in. They can put giant wooden pads down and drive in on them at that point, so it doesn't damage anything. And then, as utilities, you typically make repairs to anything that you mess up at that point. So if you were to do any type of damage, they would go in, if it required flattening back out or planting grass.
Okay. I guess my question just kind of piggybacks off of Mr. Atkins' question in terms of impact during the day, during that time of year, not only graduation, but while we have students in the buildings. One of these access roads is coming off of the fire lane around an elementary school, you know, so having equipment come in and out of there during a school day is kind of concerning. So just logistics, I think I'd like to know more about logistics of how all that would be handled. How much equipment, when would it be coming in, that type of thing, because we have to make sure our kids are safe in their buildings where they're learning.
Excuse me. What structure, what pole is that near? The fire lane?
So your AR4
AR4.
is coming off of the fire lane for Red Bud Run Elementary.
We can take that back to the project team and see if we can relocate that to a better location.
The other ones are coming off of the main kind of entrance road and just roads around Millbrook High School, which are, I think, less impactful. But that one, I think, and it does look like that AR4 turns into AR, or maybe there's another one, AR5, coming in off of,
The baseball fields.
from behind the baseball field.
I see 3. Where's AR4? I can't read that.
Yeah, I can't see it. But we can take that back to the project team and see if we can relocate that for you.
And in terms of coming into work on this, I don't know if it would be possible to do that project over the summer when there are no students in the facilities, but the timeline you've laid out mostly seems to fall within that anyways. But what kind of, like how much equipment and what kind of equipment would we expect, and how much traffic would be coming through during that phase?
So typically what this is First Energy, in the meeting we had today, they're going to contract out to a contractor to do the 138 work. Typically, from my experience on what I've seen, you've usually got, in this case, 2 or 3 trucks in the right-of-way that'll be off-road, set up so that they can work. Pretty much, for the most part, once they're in, and then they'll leave at the end of the day. They'll move within the right-of-way at that point, depending on the work that they do. But there shouldn't be a ton. I wouldn't think much disruption really at all on the road. Once they get off the road, they're typically off the road for the day.
So even once they're clearing trees, there wouldn't be truckloads of trees going out and that type of thing?
No. And right now, all the construction schedule is pending approval, so, and design, we still haven't started design yet until we have approvals. So, with that being said, I mean, that's something that we could work out and make sure that we're causing the least amount of disruption if students still are in school. So.
I think, Mr. Chair, I think another piece too with the safety, are we removing large trees? I'm not too, I mean, I know where this is based on the map, but I mean, is there large trees that you would have to remove?
I live right on the other side and have 2 kids at Red Bud, right? Well, one at Red Bud and one's going to Millbrook next year. So looking at that, driving down Route 7, the trees in there are not anything that's huge. I mean, I would be surprised 50, 60, 70 foot. Now, that's just me driving by.
Sure.
But I don't think that there's anything really
back to
exceptionally
the-
large in there.
Okay, so back to the communication and back to Mr. Comstock, and I think the theme of this board and my theme, absolutely, number one, is if there is any trees that have to be removed, I would prefer that to be when no kids were in the building. I mean, yes, no kids go back in that area, but as Mr. Monk was saying earlier, you know, it could happen, and I want to make sure that our kids stay safe and that we have the right measures in place. Like, that needs to be the number one priority when we're going through this piece here, if the board again votes on it, so.
Nope, that's fine.
That'd be great.
If it was acceptable at that point, when students are out of school, say, I don't remember if the schedule for next year's out or not, but say spring break, are we able to work at that point, or would you prefer summer?
Mr. Chair, I think I heard you say, I mean, summer is preferable. I mean, less students are in the building. We do have summer school. That's something that we can definitely coordinate with our summer school planning team to make sure that we don't have students at Red Bun. We typically transition amongst different schools. So Dr. Angelo, that would be something we can definitely work with your team on, as well as with Millbrook. I think what I'm hearing is that would be the preference. I mean, over the summer, because then we would have a least amount. Still communicate and still make sure that we know what the schedule looks like, but when we have no students in the building, and you just shared your kids are there too, so we want to make sure we limit the amount of any sort of issues or problems that could arise. Safety is number one.
So, Mr. Chairman, I also don't want to pigeonhole anybody either on this, because the bat schedule's been plaguing us too at work. So, maybe if we had to do any of the tree work, maybe during winter break, do that, and then, I mean, there's no bats there then. Doesn't impact. They have a good home to go to. I mean, we're taking a strip out. We're not taking out a national forest here.
And the tree work, it's going to be like 2-day activity.
Exactly. You know, so that would be perfect if we could maybe schedule that during the winter time where we don't have students, and then kind of get everything else done, you know, based upon school schedules.
I think as long as, Mr. Atkins, as long as there's a commitment to work closely with staff to make sure there's the least impact possible, and that it's happening, the bulk of the work is happening when there aren't students in the facility, that would be the preference of at least me and probably other committee.
I'm just concerned about talk about bats again. Last time that didn't go well for us. So.
And I guess my last question is, you know, does, I see several different things. Is there something that shows what the easement area would be? Is it really just along the lines moving forward, or is it everything within the yellow on this map?
We have like a plat map that we can give you that's part of the easement,
Okay.
if you'd like that.
And if the school board were to say no to this, what would you guys do? Got to try to find another way.
Keep working with it.
Not saying that we are, I'm just
No,
asking
I
a
know.
question. Yeah.
Honestly,
There it is.
we're hard pressed to find a path into the site.
Well, right now, basically where that goes, there is a 40-foot easement in most of it right now that goes
Yep.
down through there. So we're just trying to expand
Expand
it
it.
a little bit on that area, so.
Okay. Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. That's helpful. Thank you so much.
Keep in mind, when we're working this, we have to stay within our limits of the right-of-way, so we won't be, you know, traversing throughout the school property, so.
Any other questions from the committee? Mr. Lake, do you have any questions for them?
All good.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I think Mr. Lee had some.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sir. Mr. Lee.
So I have one thing to add, and Mr. Crispin has something to add as well. Just to make you all aware, they are offering consideration for this. I would recommend that it's something that's discussed in closed session before the next school board meeting. And then we can talk about the dollar amount and open.
I was going to ask if we get electricity for the next few decades.
Free electricity.
Not a problem.
It might be a touchstone question, or.
Okay, my comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Is that Millbrook High School and Redbud Run, that campus is what's considered an MS4 site. That is a special designation for mostly municipalities. Winchester itself, the entire encompassing region of Winchester, is an MS4 site. But this particular one, we're the only school division that has one of these. what you have to do doesn't mean the work can't be done or anything like that, but you have to meet certain requirements with DEQ. Notifications that we're going to do the work, define the work, we have to monitor the work, and that type of thing, so we need to consider that. Doesn't keep us from doing the work. Like I said, the entire city of Winchester is an MS4 site, and you know work's being done there. It's just a matter of notification, and it's all tied to the Chesapeake Bay runoff. So we handle this internally, since we are an MS4 site, with our engineering staff, how to do it. And certain of us are designated to go out and take the type of things you have to report. We've had 2 buses leak oil onto the pavement, and we had to notify DEQ. That's how tight it gets. So we need to make sure if we're going to take out trees, if we're going to have equipment on the site, all that has to be, we have to make sure that we're within the parameters of the MS4 site, the work can still be done.
Thank you for that.
We are the only MS4 site on a school in the state of Virginia. We've tried to do that, tried to move out of that, but we haven't been successful yet. Just making the note of it, that there are some special considerations there.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Mr. Crispin, does that create extra cost? I'm sure there's time involved with you doing, and the
Very
people on
minimal.
staff doing that, but would there be?
Very minimal.
Okay.
We'd work with these guys.
Okay.
I gotta say, REC and SVEC, since they've been great to work with. So I'm not really concerned about that as much. Or there'll be a little bit, I'm sure they would help us if there was any cleanup, Usually it'd stay dry and take a little bit of the soil up. It's not huge, but there might be minimal expense.
Just to recap, you gentlemen said you all are REC. You're working to attain the easement, but it would be First Energy that would be working with. So have you worked with First Energy before?
No, but,
Allegheny Energy.
yeah, it's Allegheny before.
And we would work with them on anything with that and require that they report that to us.
But
So, I mean, that's-
the easement is under us, so we will be the ones repairing everything.
Responsible.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, and with that said, we do a pretty good job of our due diligence and do all the environmental and everything else that we can make available to you folks as well, so.
And then you could probably give him the reports and everything.
Yeah.
if needed.
That's what's needed. Just record.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. So
So we gotta make a motion.
we're looking for action here to
All
put
right.
this to the full board.
So do we want to do it with the motion with the roads, present to the full board with the additional information? Or do we want to present, or do we want to take it to closed session?
Yeah, my recommendation, happy to put forward a motion, would be that we move it to the full board for consideration.
And then we discuss some of these things there, and hopefully by that meeting have some additional answers.
But would we do, like they just talked about, doing that in closed session?
Yeah.
Okay.
So with, Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we move this to the full board for consideration and talk about some of the other items that we've only mentioned today and have the full board consider some of those aspects at our June 20 meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, so next up on our new business, we have the contract award for petroleum products.
Yes, Ms. Patty Kemray, Director of Finance, will present that. Thank you, Patty, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin, excuse me. Board members, you have before you a recommendation for award that we would like for you to consider to move to our full board on Tuesday night to award. This is for our petroleum products. You'll see that we are asking to award to H.N. Funkhauser and Company. This is for fuel. This is an estimated value because we don't know exactly how much fuel will be used, but you can see the amount at $1,223,881.02. Let's not forget the 2 cents. This is for heating oil, diesel, and unleaded. This is not only for Frederick County Public Schools transportation facility, this also includes the fuel that we sell at cost to Frederick County Government, Sheriff, and Fire and Rescue. So we're looking for your approval to move this forward Tuesday night to award. This was the only vendor that bid on this award also.
Question.
Thank you, Ms.
That was going to be my question, because if I recall correctly, this is one of those bids that whatever the lowest, and I think this is a vendor we've used before and then transition and then going back to. Okay, appreciate it.
Any questions from the committee? All right, looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to present to the full board a contract award for petroleum products to H.N. Funkhauser and Sons in the estimated dollar amount of $1,823,881.02.
Motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Brings us to the end of our agenda. A lot of good content today. Thank you for everyone for being here, and thank you for all the great information. So, looking for a final motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.
Did you get moved in?